Are you addicted? The shocking psychological effects of social media. Part 1: The Invisible Chains: How Social Media Controls the Mind. In the past, control was often physical: chains, barriers, and external restrictions. Today, the chains are digital and psychological, but just as powerful. They fit in your pocket, light up your screen, and demand your attention the moment you wake up. Social media has become a dominant force, shaping thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and most people don't even realize it. But this isn't just about distraction or wasted time. It's about influence: who truly controls your thoughts. Are you a free thinker, guided by wisdom and self-awareness, or are you constantly reacting to notifications like a conditioned response? The great philosophers, from Marcus Aurelius to Frederick Douglass, warned about the dangers of external control over the mind long before it became digital. The psychological grip of social media. Psychology has long studied how identity, self-perception, and validation are shaped by external forces. Long before social media, scholars like W.E.B. Du Bois and Frantz Fanon wrote about double consciousness, the idea that individuals see themselves through two perspectives: their own self-perception and how society defines them. Social media amplifies this struggle, creating an environment where self-worth is measured through engagement metrics rather than genuine self-knowledge. Instead of shaping their identities based on personal growth, people curate their lives for approval, often from an audience that may not even care. Likes and follows become modern-day social currency, reinforcing a cycle of digital validation. The paradox is striking: social media offers the promise of self-expression, yet it often leads to dependence on external approval. The philosopher Marcus Garvey once said, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our minds." Today, the question is whether we control social media or if it controls us. From Stoic strength to digital dependency. The Stoics, masters of mental discipline, would likely see social media as the ultimate test of self-control. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-philosopher, believed that true freedom is internal: no man is free who is not master of himself. What would he say about the person who panics when a post doesn't receive enough likes? The individual who feels less valuable because an algorithm didn't favor their content? These are signs of dependence, not freedom. The forces at play are not physical, but algorithmic, an invisible influence guiding emotions and behaviors. Seneca warned, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." Social media scatters the mind across infinite feeds, reducing deep thinking and focus. It fosters constant comparison, turning users into consumers of content rather than creators of meaningful thought. Warnings from the past: the power of influence. History is filled with thinkers who cautioned against allowing external forces to dictate emotions and behavior. Malcolm X: "If you're not careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing." Social media thrives on division, amplifying outrage and shaping narratives that encourage reaction rather than reflection. Nietzsche: "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." When people allow external platforms to shape their thinking, they lose their ability to form independent perspectives. Master your mind or be controlled. In the past, people read books, absorbing, reflecting, and debating ideas. Today, endless scrolling replaces deep thought with fleeting digital stimuli. Each swipe erases a previous thought, replacing it with something designed to keep the mind engaged but not necessarily enriched. The greatest minds in history understood that self-mastery leads to true power. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, spent nights reminding himself to control his thoughts and desires. What would he think of those who spend hours in comment wars or chasing online approval? Conclusion: reclaim your focus. Social media isn't just an app, it's an ecosystem of influence. The real question is: will you cultivate the discipline of the Stoics, reclaiming control over your focus and thoughts, or will you allow distractions to shape your identity, leaving you reactive rather than reflective? True freedom starts in the mind. The challenge is clear: do you have the strength to take back control? Part 2, The Silent War, How Social Media Rewires Your Mind. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself in a dimly lit room, a single screen casting its glow on your face. Time slips away. Minutes. Hours. Your thoughts race, your heart beats faster. Something feels off. This isn't just fatigue. It's not simple distraction. It's a shift in control. Are you fully in charge of your thoughts? Or are you subtly guided, influenced, and shaped, not by an individual, but by an unseen system? Algorithms track what captures your attention, what sparks emotion, what keeps you engaged. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is behavioral science at work. The psychology of digital influence, how social media shapes your thoughts. You believe you're in control. Think again. Every scroll, every tap, every interaction is carefully designed to elicit a response. Research in behavioral psychology demonstrates that humans react more strongly to negativity than to positivity. Social media platforms leverage this fact, amplifying controversy, fueling reactions, and reinforcing emotional engagement. Why? Because fear captures attention. Because outrage drives interaction. In 1957, psychologist B.F. Skinner demonstrated operant conditioning, showing that behaviors could be shaped by subtle reinforcement. Social media applies this principle masterfully, turning engagement into a loop of validation, impulsivity, and emotional dependence. The emotional trap, a system designed to hold you. Look at the cycle. You see a headline designed to provoke an emotional reaction, you click. You see a post that stirs insecurity, you seek validation. You see a comment that angers you, you engage, prolonging the cycle. The most unsettling part. It feels like a choice. But is it? Or is it by design? Thinkers like Frantz Fanon and Malcolm X cautioned against external forces subtly shaping thought patterns. They described mental conditioning, a system where individuals adopt perspectives imposed upon them rather than forming their own. Malcolm X once stated, "The most powerful tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed." Now ask yourself, are you actively forming opinions, or are you simply reacting to what appears on your screen? The identity crisis: who are you without the algorithm? Before the rise of social media, people developed their identities through personal experiences, introspection, and meaningful conversations. Now, identity is shaped by algorithms. Your opinions. Influenced by trending topics, your desires. Subtly molded by influencers and digital marketing, your self-worth. Tied to numbers on a screen. This is not organic self-discovery. This is an engineered experience, a carefully curated narrative. Philosophers warned of this long ago. Nietzsche: "He who fights with monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster." Social media has turned engagement into a battlefield, where divisive discussions shape behavior. Marcus Aurelius: "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your mental environment is filled with negativity, comparison, and external validation, what does that do to your sense of self? The science of doom scrolling: how social media affects your brain. This is not just psychological. It is neurological. Studies show that social media usage alters brain structures, weakening areas responsible for deep thinking, patience, and emotional regulation while strengthening pathways related to impulse control and instant gratification. The more you scroll, the less control you exert over your mental state. Your dopamine system becomes desensitized, leaving you restless, anxious, and disconnected from real-life experiences. Your attention span shortens, making long-form reading, deep conversations, and focus-intensive tasks feel exhausting. Your emotional resilience decreases, making every ignored message or negative comment feel disproportionately impactful. This is not simply a habit. This is a rewiring of the human brain. The ultimate challenge: can you step away? Ask yourself. If social media vanished tomorrow, who would you be? Would you feel whole without digital validation, would you have a strong sense of self beyond the screen? Many would struggle. Because they weren't building themselves, they were curating a persona for an audience that may not even notice. The great Stoic philosophers emphasized the power of solitude and self-reflection. Epictetus, who overcame great adversity, understood what modern society seems to have forgotten. No man is free who is not master of himself. If the urge to check your phone feels uncontrollable, then ask, who truly holds the power? Conclusion: reclaiming control. This is the silent challenge of our era. The struggle is not physical, it is about attention and awareness. The forces shaping thought are not visible, they operate through subtle persuasion and engagement loops. The consequences are not immediate, but they manifest in self-perception, stress levels, and the ability to engage with life beyond the screen. This is not about quitting social media entirely. It's about using it intentionally. The choice is clear. Will you cultivate awareness, using technology as a tool rather than a distraction, or will you continue reacting, allowing unseen forces to dictate your emotions and priorities? True freedom begins with mindful control. The first step: awareness. Part 3: Awakening, breaking free from the digital chains. Imagine this: you wake up one morning, but something is different. You don't check your phone first thing. You don't feel the pull of notifications demanding your attention. You don't feel the urge to scroll endlessly, absorbing an ocean of opinions, arguments, and distractions. Instead, you feel clear, present, in control. This is the state of awareness that social media subtly discourages. The moment you recognize how much of your focus, emotions, and identity have been influenced by digital platforms, you begin to reclaim your autonomy. You become a conscious thinker. And nothing challenges the status quo more than a person who is fully present and intentional. The digital trance: how most people live in a reactive state. Many people today operate on autopilot, not physically, but mentally. They react to stimuli rather than engage in deliberate thought. They consume rather than create, they perform rather than live authentically, they react rather than reflect. And often, they don't even recognize it. Throughout history, philosophers and visionaries have warned about the dangers of passive living. The ancient Stoics emphasized the importance of intentional action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Stop acting as if you have 1,000 years to live. Fate is hanging over you. While you live, while it is in your power, become good." Yet today, many people drift through life, contributing to a system that views them not as individuals but as data points, consumers, and statistics. The fear of silence: why constant stimulation becomes addictive. If you've ever tried stepping away from social media, you may have noticed an internal struggle. At first, you feel restless, reaching for your phone instinctively. Then, anxiety creeps in as your mind searches for digital distractions. Finally, you may feel an unsettling void. Who are you without the constant influx of content? This isn't mere boredom. It's the withdrawal from digital noise. Many people find silence uncomfortable because it forces them to confront reality. The reality that years have been spent chasing validation, the realization that much of their worldview has been shaped by algorithms, the understanding that true mental autonomy requires effort and discipline. And that realization can be difficult to accept. Breaking free, the path to mental clarity. Escaping digital dependence isn't about abandoning technology, it's about using it intentionally. It's about choosing mindfulness in a world designed to distract. The great thinker W.E.B. Du Bois spoke of double consciousness, the struggle of seeing oneself through the lens of an external system. Social media perpetuates this challenge, framing identity through likes, shares, and curated personas. But you are not a digital profile. You are not an algorithmic suggestion. You are a human being with depth beyond the screen. The Stoic approach: reclaiming your mental space. The ancient Stoics mastered self-discipline and clarity of thought. They trained their minds to resist external distractions and focus on what truly mattered. Here's how you can apply their wisdom today. Reclaim your attention. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Guard it, turn off unnecessary notifications. Reduce digital interruptions, set defined screen time limits. Prioritize real-world interactions, develop focus through deep work and mindfulness, shift from consumption to creation. Many people passively consume content, but true impact comes from creating. Keep a journal. Record your thoughts, insights, and reflections, build something meaningful, a skill, a craft, a body of work, engage in real-world experiences, read physical books, have deep conversations, and reconnect with nature. Embrace solitude and reflection. The greatest thinkers, from Frederick Douglass to Epictetus, practiced solitude. Sit in silence. Let your thoughts settle without distraction, take walks without digital devices. Observe, reflect, and absorb your surroundings. Meditate on your mortality. Ask yourself, am I using my time wisely? Train for mental strength, not comfort. Seek challenge over ease, avoid instant gratification. Resist mindless scrolling, face discomfort. Use boredom as an opportunity for introspection, build resilience. The strongest minds endure difficulty without losing clarity. Conclusion: will you wake up or continue drifting? The modern world is engineered for distraction. Its goal is to keep you consuming, not thinking. Its algorithms encourage passivity, not critical engagement. Its noise drowns out the clarity that deep reflection can bring. But you don't have to be a passive participant. You can take control. You can reclaim your mental space. You can cultivate awareness and intention. The question is, will you? Because once you recognize the patterns shaping your thoughts, you face a choice. Ignore it. Keep scrolling. Remain caught in the cycle, challenge it. Take control. Become the master of your mind. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs more leaders. Will you step forward? Part 4, the final step, living with purpose beyond the screen. Breaking free from digital distractions isn't just about reducing screen time, it's about reclaiming control over your life. Now that you understand the mechanisms that shape your attention, the real challenge begins: crafting a life of meaning beyond the algorithm. Designing a life of intention. Technology should be a tool, not a master. Social media, if used wisely, can educate, connect, and inspire. But to ensure it serves you, and not the other way around, you must set clear boundaries and cultivate habits that support deep engagement with life. Ask yourself, what truly fulfills you beyond instant gratification? How can you spend more time creating rather than consuming? What meaningful projects or relationships deserve your full attention? The most successful people in history, thinkers, creators, leaders, did not allow external forces to dictate their focus. They committed to personal mastery, discipline, and growth. The power of deep work and focus. To counteract the effects of endless scrolling and short attention spans, engage in deep, meaningful work. Create daily rituals, dedicate time for reading, writing, or building something that adds long-term value. Practice mindful consumption, be selective about what you read, watch, and engage with. Prioritize face-to-face connections. True relationships aren't built on likes or follows but on real, meaningful interactions. Develop a strong mindset, train your mind to resist distractions, focus deeply, and embrace challenges. A call to action: step into your power. The world needs more thinkers, creators, and visionaries, people who aren't afraid to step outside of the digital echo chamber and engage with reality. The choice isn't just about social media, it's about how you choose to live every moment of your life. So ask yourself, will you be a passive participant, shaped by digital influences, or will you take command of your thoughts, actions, and future? Your greatest asset isn't your profile or your follower count, it's your ability to think independently, act with purpose, and lead with intention. Conclusion: the journey begins now. You have everything you need to reclaim control. Awareness is the first step. Action is the second. The rest is up to you. Limit distractions, cultivate deep focus, build meaningful connections, design a life filled with purpose and clarity. The world doesn't need another distracted mind. It needs a leader. Will you be the one to rise?